Hello everyone. I hope I hope the weather is good wherever you are today. Right now I am in Malacca and it's very sunny and humid as always. So welcome to the third of the EPA webinar series. This this webinar is a collaboration between ICOMOS Malaysia, ICOMOS Pakistan, and ICOMOS Philippines. And the webinar covers different aspects of cultural interpretation and presentation. And we are very pleased to introduce you to the speaker, a special speaker we have today, all the way from Hong Kong, Mr. Chui Chu Kwan. Stephen is a practicing building surveyor who practices in an architectural consultant firm. And he will be talking about something that is very close to his heart as the chairman of the Pokfulam Village Cultural Landscape Conservation Group. He has been promoting the heritage conservation of Pokfulam Village, the cultural landscape, preserving old dairy farm, historic buildings and remains. And the title of his talk today is Conserving the Cultural Landscape of Historic Settlement, the Pokfulam Village. So I would like to call Stephen Chui to switch on his screen. My name is Mariana, by the way. I'm a representative of ICOMOS Malaysia. Hello, Stephen, how are you?
Hi, it's fine. Hi. Good afternoon, good morning, Philippines, Pakistan, and Malaysia.
Yes.
Yes.
So we have quite a number of us today. I think about 17. I think the numbers will increase as we go. So are you ready for your segment?
Yeah, let me share the screens first about the PowerPoint.
Okay, so to all the attendees, what we're doing today, Stephen will share his presentation for about 1 hour, and then we'll have the Q&A after his presentation, maybe a half an hour session. You can ask anything you want. You can type it in the chat box, and I believe this session is also telecast on ICOMOS Philippines Facebook. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, Stephen.
Yes. Can you see the screen on my sharing?
Yes, it looks good.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to present the Conserving the Cultural Landscape of Historic Settlement about my home village in Hong Kong. Today's the sharing of just my experience about the conserving the cultural landscapes of the Pokfulam Village, and the issues we will raise about the cultural landscape and the historical settlements. For my presentations about the Pokfulam Village Cultural Landscape Conservation Group, we will illustrate the pending conservation campaign to promote the tangible and intangible heritage, and also illustrate the potential threats that is the village is the last remaining historical village in Hong Kong Island and facing pressure from redevelopment plans. So we apply for the World Monument Fund and we were placed in the World Monument Watch List in 2014. And also we have to illustrate the unique agricultural industrial heritage of the old dairy farm historic building, and with the community and social engagements. And also we will demonstrate the development path, how from a amateur levels to NGO level. And for this conservation campaign, we will formulate to adopt an historic urban landscapes to reflecting the past memory of Hong Kong and illustrate possible diversity of living in the urban context. Before to start to the details, informations, just a little bit background about the Pokfulam Village. Pokfulam Village is a small village perched on the valley in the southwestern of the Hong Kong island, and it has record from the Sun On County General in 1819. Physical evidence date back to the Qing Dynasty. And with history, more than 7 generations of families. And because the village is colonized by British, the area also furnished by the Bethany, Nasari, and also the unique agricultural industrial heritage dairy farm, which set up in the same era. So finally, they formed an example of cultural landscapes of this area. The beginning of the village is a row of 18 number Hakka style village house. This row of village house is original setting. The village house consists of many stores, shops, for example, wet markets, grocery store. This village so therefore provide economic and social hubs to the area, and also this area can provide the daily commodities, foods, and necessary social needs, and also interlinking with the other community, for example, the French missionary, the dairy farm, the old dairy farm community. So it's a prime example of cultural landscapes. This is the analysis of some scholar about the feng shui setting and the pattern of the village. The village setting on around the mountains, just like the interprets on the feng shui settings, and also this village have 3 streams passing through the village from the north and middle and the southern part, and leads finally to the waterfall bay, which believed to be the historical and evidential value for naming of Hong Kong. For the village houses, and these residents are originally with the Hakka houses, and is the resident is the descendant from the original workers of settlements, and also the descendants from the new immigrants from who fled from China after the collapse of Qing Dynasty, and also the workers settlement from the old dairy farms employees. So this area together with the colonial buildings include the Bethany, Nasari, and the old dairy farm, therefore form a very historic and settlement around this area. In the 1975, because of the Hong Kong government, they set up the housing policy who want to frozen the village. So these settlement squatter will be redeveloped. And most of the settlements being redeveloped to a low-cost public housings. And in 1980s, because the government in Hong Kong, they set up a squatter control policy. All these village houses are registered, their size, their form, and the types of material on the fabric. So the villages, because of this policy, they didn't want to pay more money to repair their village houses. they use a temporary materials such as the corrugated sheets timber. So the appearance of the village looks like a shady or more shiny towns. This is a aerial photo record in 1963. The settlements of these vernacular residential structures is framed by some Hong Kong most iconic and architectural and engineering structures, include the Pokfulam Village, Nasari, and the Bethany, and also the dairy farm all around these areas. So these can provide a rich historical settings. And this setting also continue because of these iconic structures, dairy farm, Nasari, and Pokfulam Village, or declared monument and is protected by the law in Hong Kong. So this setting will continue to form a very rich cultural landscapes for the Pokfulam Valley. At the same time, the village have a most signatures, intangible cultural heritage of Pokfulam fried dragon dance, which is a ceremony, so form an important form, and the build heritage with this intangible heritage together interlink with this historic settlement, so can provide a high authenticity. According to the UNESCO Intangible Cultural Heritage, Pokfulam Village Fried Dragon Dance is traditional, contemporary, living at the same time, and this inclusivity respond and also strengthen the identity of Pokfulam regions and contributes to give villages a sense of identity. This practice also another place in the Hong Kong Thai Han group, which is more famous and is listed on the national list of China. And the community-based, the Fried Dragon Dance have a strong recognition by the Pokfulam villages and also the visiting participants. Pokfulam Village also have a regular festivals and events annually. They have some most and prestige and a famous local festival, such as the Mid-Autumn Festival, Fried Dragon Dance, and also the Chimney Cake Festivals, Dragon Boat Festival. These events aim to recognize by local communities and government to endorse the historic settlement activities. Industrial heritage, according to the TECI, the Charter for the Industrial Heritage in 2003, industrial culture, which are of historical, technological, social, architectural, and scientific value. But in Hong Kong, since 2009, the Secretary for Development announced the declarations of 41 waterwork structures within 6 people visible as monument to recognize the high historic value. But all these structures are public works facilities. But how about the industrial heritage of Old Dairy Farm, which is the private enterprise? Dairy Farm Group are set up in the Pokfulam in 1886 and provide Hong Kong fresh milk and low price and health milk, and also offer employments to many Pokfulam visitors. And the dairy farming operation in Asia is the largest. And according to the Dairy Farm Annual Report in 1950, it is the highest head per acre in the world. And also the experience with different crops, they eventually obtain a greener grass, establishing main animal source. So it is more innovative at that time. Because of the inhospitable topography compared with other farms in Britain and America. So the dairy farm in terms of size, operation, experiment and innovate, and which is unique in the Pokfulam area. So our conservation groups named the dairy farm as agricultural industrial heritage, which is the dairy farming relates to the agricultural and milk, cheese, and ice making activities to be the industrial. And in 2013, the conservation group of Pokfulam Village, together with the Caritas Hong Kong, applied for the government revitalizing historic building through partnership scheme, and this scheme is not only to preserve the old dairy farm senior staff quarter, which is a great one historic building, but also to preserve the intangible heritage, include the background story, the cultural significance, to reveal the history, their values in this place, and also these buildings is now just open in April. We conduct a lot of series of Doshan tour artifacts, which is mainly operated by the villages. So this Pokfulam area form a very important and significant Pokfulam cultural landscapes, together with its built heritage and the intangible heritage. The issue and the threats about this area, because in 1990s, the rezoning of the planning department on this area, which zoned the northern part of the village to be the government institution and community use. So this is the pressure from the redevelopments. And other pressure is about in 2019, the Pokfulam moratorium, which is lifted by the chief executive, further released the development potential on Pokfulam area. And the reason more governments striving for the land in Pokfulam area to relieve the housing demands. So this pressure for the redevelopments will further push the village to be at risk for the redevelopment. So our conservation groups and the objective to conserve the intangible heritage and also keeping the tangible elements adopted in Chinese 以有形之氣創無形之極. So the conservation campaign will raise a public awareness of cultural significance and also the cultural landscape of Pokfulam Village. And with this issue, we formulate a sustainable historic urban village landscape and tries to make it continuous exist, and also to preserve the past memory and illustrate possible diversity of a living mode in an urban context. So we set up the approach and strategy, follow the UNESCO recommendation on historic urban landscape, which is follow the 6 critical steps. Step 1 is to undertake comprehensive survey and mapping. And we, on the cultural mapping, the village have 3 documentation on dissertation study. The first one is to document the role of active numbers of village houses. We record the villages, their parents, their story and photo artifacts. And the second is the study on the feng shui setting, the village house, and the stream course passing through the village. And the last one is the study on the agricultural industrial heritage of dairy farm and the and also their account on the employee, their history and the backgrounds about the villages. And also we collaborations with the academic institutions, the Google Cultural Institute in 2015, and the ICH Intangible Cultural Heritage. The Google Cultural Institute, with the help of a student from university, they can study doing research on the tangible and intangible heritage to prepare a plan to the teacher and upload to the Google Cultural Institutes. Students from all over the world can download those informations and learn lots about the Pokfulam Village cultural significance. And also with the help of NGO Caritas Hong Kong, they document the verbal history of the village. And also we set up the first community archive with the help by Hong Kong Archive Society. These archives document all those tangible and intangible things through the online, so this information can be passed to the future generations. And in order, we want to raise the awareness to the international organizations. In 2013, the villages applied to the World Monument Fund Watch list. And in 2014, the village is listed on the watch list. And also we apply for granting of funding to restore a village house. This village house is the pilot schemes to rebuild the traditional Chinese brickwork, great brickwork on the village house, aim to preserve the village house exists on the village. And because of the watch list, so we set up a Pokfulam Village Historic Settlement Day on the last Sunday of October every year to commemorate the inclusion of the watch list. And in 2014, we also joined a AAHM, Asian Academy Heritage Management Workshops on the Heritage Impact Assessment, which is held by University of Hong Kong, and also we participate these workshops. Step 2 is to reach consensus and consultation on what value, and also protect and transmission to future generations. In order to preserve these values, we have set up a NGO organizations. Because of the R scheme, we set up the NGOs so we can run the revitalization scheme of the old dairy farm senior staff quarters. And also we determine the social value, the social base surveys. These regular 7 festivals to get the local community and governments to recognize the historical settlement activities. And later, the Pokfulam Caritas and other NGO finally added the verbal record and published a book showing all the details in Pokfulam Village historic settlements. We also set up the Pokfulam Village Community Archive in online archive format. So it keeps the verbal history and photo artifacts and cultural heritage. And we coordinate and execute with other NGOs. And for the social-based survey, the history projects and ICH research, and also we put the intangible heritage list. To assess the vulnerability, we tackle the planning perspective. We participate the AAHM workshop and other symposiums, and also identify and analyzing the planning policy issue, which relates to the future use of the Pokfulam Village. And we sought the expert experience and knowledge in the planning for the future development. And step 4 is to integrate the urban heritage value. We pay attention to planning, design, and implementation of development projects. So the villages fighting for sewage pipeline or basic amenity for more than 10 years. And this year, the proposal will get set to the public, and there was no objections. So the next step will be placing on the agenda of LACO to apply for the funding. And also the government, several years before they eliminate the possible landslide and strengthen the dangerous slope to many historic village houses. So the Pokfulam Village Conservation, Landscape Conservation, Cultural Council groups, and collaborate with other NGO and artists set up the community projects. For example, the wayfinding signage design and the sign art to the Pokfulam Village. To prioritize these actions for conservation and development, this is based on the Hong Kong circumstances and situations. The priority will be the social, political, policy, and legislations. For community gardens, we use a abandoned farmland to set up a community garden, so can provide the place to carry out different activities and events in order to set up a sense of place to the villages. And we also collaborate with other students of University Hall. They launch a cultural landscape heritage walk. So we have a mutual understanding with the neighbor community and encourage the communications to carry out the conservation activities. We also educate the general public to experience and realize the cultural heritage of Pokfulam Village. And with collaborations with conservancy associations and conduct the eco-diversity Doshan tour. For the political aspects, the conservation campaign includes various activities and events, and also illustrate the agricultural industrial heritage of dairy farm. So we therefore participating in our scheme. And the conservation group also cooperate with White Dragon associations to inscribe mid-autumn White Dragon dance on the representative lists in Hong Kong. For the policy side, the Pokfulam Village Cultural Landscape Conservation Group wrote to the Antiquity Advisory Board for request the board to consider grading the village house built in Qing Dynasty, and also the old dairy farm remains. And finally, 21 numbers were graded to historic building. And we have launched the Heritage Walk, and over 4,000 visitors are being enjoyed, and also the Southern District tourism and cultural festivals. For the legislations, in order, the conservation campaign is to keep living here. That means sustainable living. So to keep sustainable village life should legitimate to make a legal or legally enforced by Hong Kong government to provide a barrier access to rezone the land use around the Pokfulam Village, and to grade Qing Dynasty village house and agricultural industrial heritage of old dairy farm, and also legalize the village house under out-of-date squatted policy, and to legalize the stream passing through the river as historical and ecological important stream. The step is to establish the partnerships and local management frameworks. We developed a local management framework for the conservation campaign based on the Hong Kong situations, and minor changes and adjustment in conservation activities, and depends on the activities objective. And we collaborate with other NGO or stakeholder to achieve these goals. This is the some activities performed participate in the village before. For example, some cultural heritage trail, Fire Dragon craftsmanship, community art, and all these activities invite nearby community and open to the public, to visitors. Together with the villages, have more interactions and more presentations about the village culture. And so we develop a partnerships and local management framework of the project on conservation and development of Pokfulam Village. And Pokfulam Village Cultural Landscape Conservation Group have community partners, which is the Caritas Hong Kong, the Caritas Pokfulam Community Development Projects, and also the village organizations, which is the Pokfulam Village Fire Dragon Society. And with the aspects of heritage preservations involve the conservation of tangible and intangible heritage, which includes an NGO, professional organizations, and also the academic institutions. And on the community empowerment and the development issues, we collaborate with other government organizations. For example, the Environmental Protection Departments, Drinking Services Department, and other NGO, neighborhood community, and also the global networks. So we develop these management frameworks to perform our conservation campaign in order to protect the village, their both tangible and intangible heritage and the cultural landscapes, in order to make the village to have more sustainable living place on the Pokfulam area. So this is all my presentations about the conserving the cultural landscape and historic settlements of Pokfulam Village. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephen. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, that was really good. That was really good, and I like that you presented it covering the social, political, policy, and legislation strategies and aspects. Okay, let's open the question and answer session to the attendees here. Oh, there's one question from Kenneth. He says, thank you for the interesting presentation. Kenneth what? I think he's from Pokfulam Village. He is. Yes, definitely he is. Could Stephen share more on the logic of 7 categorization under the Hong Kong Community Archive project for Pokfulam? And who is eventually responsible for maintaining the archive collection?
Yes, thank you. Question from Kenneth. And these categorizations of Hong Kong Archive, Community Archive, this project, we applied for the funding from the Lord Wilson Heritage Trust. And with the help of Hong Kong Archive Society, and this is the online-based archive. This is first set up in Hong Kong, and mainly the archive with the set up with the help of Archive Society, some specialists, and this archive will be maintained and responsible by the villages because they are the owner. They are the owner of those their ancestor, the history, the artifacts, and their story. And this archive we will put in the new set up our scheme, the senior staff quarter, Berima. The Berima, you just operate on April. This is a trial run this year, okay. and will further operate mainly by the villages. So this archive is more fresh to our traditional archives. So this is more, we need to spend more time to learn how to operate and the storing all those archives, artifacts, and cultural memories.
When you say the archives are managed by villagers, could you be a bit more specific? Like which group of villages? Is it the younger group? Is there like a association, archive association? A specific, who's the leader? Yeah, who leads?
Yeah, but mainly our conservation groups and our conservation groups are mainly composed of the villages, and these operations and future maintenance will mainly carried out by the conservation group and also pass to the villages. Even not even the younger, older, elderly, they interest about the archive. For example, their home family, their home family artifacts, or the story behind they can put in the archive. Not only the physical and also the intangible things.
So like oral history, that's also included in the program, the archive program.
Right. Yes. All those everything you can put. Everything is worth to store on the archive. They can put on the community archive. Right.
That's great. So at the moment, the focus is for the archive is collection, building a collection, and then probably the curation and the cataloging, will come later. Am I right?
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, I mean, it's a really good initiative, and it's not common to hear about a community wanting to set up their own archive, about themselves. So I that's a really good thing to know. Do we have other questions? Okay. Otherwise, I have I was really impressed by the campaign, Keep Living Here.
Yeah.
Keep living here, because it doesn't only, a lot of the approach for preservation of, historic villages is to focus on the physical, but the Keep Living Here, addresses the people, please stay here. But could you elaborate a bit the concept, the idea behind Keep Living Here, and how has it come about now? Are people like warming up to this campaign, Keep Living Here?
Yeah, at the very beginning, the concept of Keep Living Here, the background of the conservations is a group of villages originally planning and fighting for the sewage. The sewage first, because the village, there are lack of public sewage. So originally the village fighting for the public sewage, but later the conservation group, that group of villages, you know more about the value of the village, not only the physical and also both the intangible heritage. Most important about the fire dragon dance. So, and they realize the village, they have their own place. They are thinking about to keep this area, keep this village. So we have a objective about keep living here. So all the conservation campaign is based on that concept to extend more about the raising the awareness to the public and also to the internationals, to the watch list. So all about this conservation activity is back to the keep living here concept.
And this was this phrase was coined by the villagers, or was it from the conservation volunteers, or any professional branding or marketing people helped out?
Well, we are very organic, just from the beginning, from the villages, and later on, a few villages include and the other which study the conservation in University of Hong Kong. So we consult with other experts and stakeholders, and so and we group together to think more about how to preserve this place. So develop more conservation plan and the conservation activities. Focus on those keep living here objective.
Right. And it's very catchy.
Yeah.
Now, I really like it. Well, there's one question. I'm afraid I can't see his name, but he is curious to know whether there are any attempts to make heritage cheese.
Sorry.
And any attempts to make heritage cheese from the dairy industrial heritage. Yeah, any attempt to make heritage cheese?
We just set up the senior headquarters. Talking before that, this is the manager house, which is lived by the managers on the dairy farm. Actually, we will set up some workshops and to not, because this is now in Hong Kong's to feeding the cow to is very difficult because the regulations, the hygienes.
Because now it's in the city. I mean, now it's like surrounded by the city.
So we will set up the workshops how to teach the people. For example, the students how to make cheese, use the milk. We will set up those activities and event or workshops, and later on we will try on the our scheme.
It's good. Looking forward to taste the of Pokfulam. Now the next question, can you expand a bit more on how the project measures the locals' appreciation of local heritage. So how do you know how much the locals appreciates their heritage? Like, you know, is there a scale 1 to 10 or something like that? Yeah, he says he added, what indicators do you look into? Indicators.
Indicators, yes. But Pokfulam Village is just a very vernacular residence, and there is no on some expert. There's no architectural values or some iconic importance is the intangible cultural heritage. That is the signature fire dragon dance. And in 2016, being listed in the Hong Kong representative list of intangible cultural heritage. But our aim is the village, the fire dragon dance, expect and we hope to list on the UNESCO intangible cultural heritage list. But we have to fulfill some more stringent criteria. But for this, the scale or measures, we will need to consult or whether a village have those some specific to reach this specific requirements.
Mm-hmm. And how, when you talk about the dragon dance, maybe could you elaborate a bit on the uniqueness of the dragon dance in Pokfulam Village? Because variations.
Yes, the fire dragon dance in Hong Kong, there are two plays. One is the Tai Hang, is more supported by the Hong Kong Tourism Board and also the government. And the Tai Hang is just because the Tai Hang is now on the place of the city, urban area, most high-rise building being redeveloped. But the Pokfulam Village Fire Dragon Dance is more, you see the more rural, because this is the organized by the local villages, and there's a performance on the Mid-Autumn Festival, and they blessing it for each household. The ceremony is starting from that night and the maybe 6 to 7 o'clock, carry out the parade, and then get inside the village and blessing for each household. And lastly, the fried dragon will be sent back to the sea, because the villagers believe that the dragons come from the sea, and that is bringing all those bad things to the sea.
So sending back the bad omens or something like that out from the sea. Okay, we have one question that has to do with the Google Cultural Institute. So any particular learning curve in collaboration with Google Cultural Institute, as well as getting listed under World Monument Fund, for you personally, as well as for the villages, like your experience being, you know, in this collaboration with Google Cultural Institute, how is it? What did you go through? Yeah, what did you go through, and how did the villages respond to that?
For the Google Cultural Institutes, we set up these institutes is to cooperate with the Googles and aim to let the students not only that they are physically could go inside the village, and from the online or this institute, they can set up doing the research and study the village, the both tangible and intangible heritage, and they doing the lesson plan. The lesson plan with the answer, they give their teachers So the other student can share with all of those information about the cultural significance of the village of this area. So sharing with these informations, they will learn more about, and in order to get more outreach, aim is more outreach of the village cultural significance.
So do you think if you compare with the period before the collaboration with Google Cultural Arts and being listed under the World Monuments Fund, is there like a really big awareness or the outreach? Is it very obvious?
Yes, I remember the listing on the watch list because this is the first time in China. First time in China listed on the World Monument watch list. Media get into the village to report about the case. Is this the World Heritage Site? But actually, it's not a beauty contest. It's an endangered site. So we spend a lot of time to explain about the endangers and the risks about the redevelopment of the.
So there was this sudden media interest in the media, suddenly very popular, and I'm sure it must have been overwhelming for the villagers, or did they actually, was it actually the response that they wanted?
Maybe 50-50 because the village is still living with villagers live inside. With placed on the watch list, there's the much. We want to minimize the interventions.
Okay.
The intervention and the disturbance to the villagers' life. But and on the other side, we need to raising the awareness to the public, not only local Hong Kong and also the international levels to recognize their values, their significance, to reflect the part of the Hong Kong history.
Well, we have some comments on Facebook. One person says, excellent development framework. And now I must agree, I think it really is structured very well. I think it's very helpful to other heritage managers or people living in the traditional villages on how to structure their approach into preservation and cultural preservation. And then there's another comment. It says, thank you so much for these important suggestions on the topic. Very important. Greetings from Italy. So we have someone from Italy.
Italy, wow.
Yes.
It's not only Asia, right?
Yeah, not only Asia. So, like even small programs, webinars like these really do, give a wider platform to a topic or a place. Go, and to the attendees, please keep on sending in your Q&A. And while waiting for the others to put forward their queries, I would like to ask, okay, so you mentioned 21 houses or structures were graded as historic buildings.
Yeah.
Yes.
Actually, in Hong Kong, the historic building policies. I said before, the Hong Kong only the declared monument. They are officially protected by the law. The systems, the graded historic building will have 3 grade 1, 2, 3, but this grading just to categorize their importance. But if the owner, for example, if the owner have a house is a grade 1, they have the right to demolish or take it down, because this is not a declared monument and it's not officially statutorily to demolish. But I said it before, the 21 graded historic building structures, mainly from the old dairy farm remains. For example, the sino cow sheds, they have important history and about the agricultural industrial heritage. So they just like other countries, they act by before that the government, but the conservation group, the right to the government, and they and seriously consider to grading of these important industrial heritage, and finally have 21 being graded to historic building.
How long did it take to get it graded as a historic building?
A few years.
Okay. Well done, then. We have a comment and question from Ms. Ayako Fukushima. She says, "Thank you, Stephen. I admire all the works you have done. May I know what was the relationship between PFL Village residents and French missionaries? As I am aware that another village, Tai Kulau, in vicinity was a Catholic village. How were PFL villages related with French missionaries?" So this is a little bit of history information that we would like to hear from you.
Yes, the Pokfulam Village residents and the French missionary. You know that area, the Pokfulam area, the French missionary set up the first sanitarium, the Bethany. Before the Bethany is a sanitarium, which is a place for the retrieve by the monks and the the Catholic personnel. And another one is Tai Kulau. Actually, Tai Kulau is a Catholic village, mainly lived by the Chinese. This group of Chinese is employed in another, before that, the Nasari, the Douglas Castle, and other buildings. It's now the University Hall. Before that, this castle is bought by the French missionary. It's a Bible printing. The Bible printing. Yeah. So employ a lot of Chinese, both Catholic Chinese doing the printed works, and they live in the Catholic village, Tai Kulau. And that village have a small church, as a small church and school. And when I was young, in primary school, I studied and this primary school. So on this area, they have interlinked together, a very close community and related to the French missionary.
I hope that answers your question, Ayako. And we have one more from Olympia Niglio from Facebook. So she's following us on Facebook. Are there courses in the school to approach the young generations to the values of the historical centers?
Yeah.
Are there courses?
Yeah. We start up many course or activities related to the school before we apply for the funding to take some program, a series of program, how to experience the village life. For example, they have a field trip onto the village to doing some traditional food, just like as traditional food, or
so they learn how to cook
learn how to
from young.
They experience the traditional Chinese Hakka village doing for example, doing some snack or food. So we were ongoing set up some of those programs with collaboration with the school on the education side.
And she's also, sorry, Olympia is also curious to know what are the remaining natural heritage in the village? What's left?
We collaborate with the conservation associations. We set up some a natural Dosan tour about on the back of the village, on the mountain, the stream course. We discover some animals. I mean, for animals or insect, they are very original on the local. So we still are ongoing with the cooperation of these associations, get us some natural Dosan tour, and even the night Dosan tour, the night tour. We discover a lot of local insect animals. It's very interesting.
So night nature
Night
tour.
nature tour, right?
Nature tour. Wow. Well, I mean, I do wonder. I mean, you've definitely put 110%, 100% of your heart into the efforts to push forward the preservation of Pokfulam's culture. And I also wonder, like, what does it mean to you? Why is it very important to you that this the culture of Pokfulam Village is kept intact or preserved?
For me, actually, I'm one of the villagers, and I'm the third generations from the village. My grandfather settled in the village before the war, and actually my parents still living there. I more understanding about the background story and their values, and in order to let more people know more about the culture, their values, about the historic settlements of this village, because the Hong Kong Islands just only left is the Pokfulam Village, all are being redeveloped.
But this is when you are at the moment, like, but when you were growing up, did you have the same perception, or is this something that you just gradually realize as you grew older?
Yeah, yeah, and when I grow up, the more I know about the background history, and also the more importance to review the part of the Hong Kong history, the development and the historic settlements. So reflect the part of the history of Hong Kong, the development of the settlement area, and one more to the traditional is the intangible things above the fried dragon dance and the old dairy farms. So should be passed to the other generations.
And the younger generation there has been very proactive in keeping, in learning, practicing the dragon dance, or how is it going on?
Just the same as show the presentation slides. Even in Mid-Autumn Festival, even the foreigners, they are very eager to join, to participate these Fire Dragon Dance, and also for the children's. They want to experience these rituals for the Fire Dragon Dance.
So like maybe there'll be a competition, dragon dance competition. Okay, do we have any more questions? Oh yes, we do. No more. Okay, no more. I would like to just add, because in this age of technology, there's so much tools that we could use. Like Google Culture Arts is one tool. Are there or were there any applications or digital tools that you have used or you think are useful, or something that we could all look into?
I think Google's after the watch list, and we contact the Google Cultural Institute, is more I think at that time more pioneers for the institutes, about the culture institutes, more pioneer, and also we also developed with the community archive. This is a community archives, which is online. Is more, I think, is more useful.
So the community archive is also Google based?
And a lot of the Google said we set up their own systems.
I see.
Yeah, the own systems is more useful, but we need to more how to manipulate of those community archives and make it more useful to review the archives, the artifacts, and the cultural things about the Pokfulam Village, the Pokfulam area, and this is the base for ongoing works about the cultural significance to preserve this, and we develop more and more to see any other opportunities or the way forward.
I think you're right. Like you need a good database basically to do anything, yes, to do anything. And a lot of the challenges in the Asian countries is actually data. Like collecting all the data and putting it, in one resource center so that everything can be coordinated. So I applaud your efforts. And today, I mean, I've learned so much within your short presentation. I wish there was a longer lecture, but yes, I think I agree with one of the commenters that your framework, your development framework, it covers a lot of things. It's holistic, and I like that it's not so building centric.
Yeah.
I think like it is. There's a kind of like a thin barrier, like we have to break away or break through that idea that it's all physical, right? And then it's all about our roots and how we view ourselves, who we want to be. And I think the Keep Living Here not only talks about being in that village, but also being who you are. So I really like that tagline.
Thank you so much.
And if there's anything you want to add or say to the attendees, anything you missed out?
Yeah. Thank you for all the audience about their questions and the not the comment, just sharing with all the ideas. And for the conservation that conserves the cultural landscapes and the industrial heritage and of the Pokfulam Village. These conservation strategies is based on our circumstances, and maybe and we don't know the environment maybe change both policy, political, and also the legislations. But we have to think more about the circumstances, the situations to aims to preserve the homes, village or the other heritage sites, and with the aim to more sustainable and make it sustainable for living.
Yes, sustainable. Yes. We are gonna have a photo session, so please don't leave yet. But before we go there, we have one more question. It just came in, and it will be unfair if we skip it. So it says, "Thank you, Stephen, for your presentation." So back to the community archive. Who among the partners help with data verification? Because you can collect so much, but half of it may not be useful or may not be relevant. So who among the partners help with this?
Actually, so we collaborate with the volunteers who working for the archive institutes, and we work together with those among those archives, the materials. We will group together the different things, but we need more times to just because this is the first setup, we will need more times to consolidate those informations and doing more verifications, mainly focused mainly by the volunteers or villagers. But actually the villagers know more about their background story. So we need to help with others, maybe the institutions, the archive society, get more advisors to the verification data.
How large is this volunteer? How many people are in the volunteer group, roughly?
Roughly, maybe just because the village is very small and our group is just maybe say 10 or 20 people, villages. And for this archive, maybe a few people to doing lots of materials.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, so we will need more and more time to consolidate those data.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. So yes, before we end this session, I mean, everyone, we're inviting you to join us on screen. If you could switch on your video and take a photo with Stephen Chu from Hong Kong and myself from Malaysia, and Kara from Philippines.
All right.
Are we ready? Hold on, I have to,
yeah, some people. Okay, 1, 2, 3. One more. Smile. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Stephen. Thank you, all the attendees via Zoom, on Facebook, the APA ICIP webinar is held once a month, every third Sunday of the month. And stay tuned to our next session. It's Adapting Heritage Interpretation and Alternative Education for Public Archaeology in Philippines. This will happen on Sunday, 21st of August, 2022. And the speaker will be Natasha Quintana, the co-founder of Tuklas Filipina Society. She's an educationist and author. And just like Stephen here, will be sharing part of the work that she's been doing. Now, Stephen, thank you so much. I really admire what your group has carried out, and to think that the volunteers are, at 20 people has done so much. And imagine if you had, 20 more. I hope the volunteer group grows, and I'll be following. I mean, I'm sure the others will be following the development of your program from all over the world. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you
so much. Okay.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone. Have a good Sunday. Have a good evening. Have a good week.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, man.
Bye.
Bye-bye.